go right over here.
Mr. McCardle has a microphone too. If you guys would like to use it, it would be easier for the people in the back.
I have a pretty loud voice. I'll talk. Dr. Paul, thank you for your service to our country. 4 years ago, I was not a Ron Paul fan, and my carpool buddy was a Ron Paul fan. And every time I grumbled about something and said the state, the union now, well, you know, Dr. Paul, if we would have elected him, we wouldn't be in this mess right now. So I set out to shut him up, and I got on the internet and was going to show him why you shouldn't be president, and now I'm here. Military man, and you know, it's one of those, we got to go over there and, you know, we got to kick those Muslims, and you know, and now I see that everything you said is true. Now, I think if we can get all the women in the country, if you can convince them to look down at their 7- or 8-year-old child or grandchild and ask them if they want those children to fight in Iran in 10 years from now, because the kids who are fighting and dying in Afghanistan right now were 8 years old when we invaded that country. So if we can get the mothers of the United States together and decide you're not going to sacrifice your children for a war that is just for oil, then we can win this thing. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Paul.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Paul. In Arizona, we happen to be pretty fortunate that our access to natural and alternative medicine is pretty good, nationally speaking. But it just really bothers me, my husband's a naturopathic physician, that a lot of people have to go out of the country to get, you know, treatments that are overly regulated here in the United States. And I see the FDA wanting to regulate people's access to, you know, supplements, dietary and nutritional supplements. And I'm not talking about medical marijuana, I'm talking about nutritional supplements. And I just wondered, when you're president, what do you think the right path would be so Americans can choose, you know, to have the kind of health care they think is best for them?
She's asking about alternative health care and the restrictions placed on both by states and the federal government. Actually, you have to worry about the United Nations too, wanting to get involved on regulation of prescription drugs and vitamins and nutritional products. The thing of it is, the federal government shouldn't be in the business at all. And you know, and I'm probably a little bit bold. She wanted to be cautious about, she's talking about nutritional substances, she's not talking about marijuana. But if you have freedom of choice, you have freedom of choice everywhere. You don't try to sort it out. You have freedom of choice to make bad mistakes and make good mistakes. So if you say, well, I want, these byproducts are bad, I don't want those, then that gives them the permission or the power to do, because they might say, what you're doing and taking, because you might want to drink raw milk, and raw milk is dangerous, so they don't want you to drink raw milk. So it's the principle. And the way I try to describe this is that, you know, if you believe in freedom of religion, which we're all supposed to believe in, that means you don't have to have a religion, or you can have a religion that none of us agree with, and we just let them go, as long as they don't hurt and kill people with it. That's their spiritual beliefs. And you know, if you can make all your decisions about your spiritual life and your hereafter, and then also that we still, up until recently, like this week, we started burning Qurans. We're not supposed to be book burners. We're supposed to be able to read and study communism and combat bad ideas. But all of a sudden we accept this notion that anything you put in your body, you have to get absolute permission from local government, the federal government, the United Nations. No, you should have absolutely free choice. But the regulation, they say, there's no regulations, they're going to give you stuff, they're going to lie. No, you can't lie, you can't defraud, you can't pretend you have a cure for cancer. And if you hurt people, if you give them bad products, they have to be responsible. This notion that we can depend on the FDA is nonsense. The FDA protects the drug companies. That's the problem. I would not use the federal government to enforce any laws. If you're protected in the state of Arizona to buy and sell and use nutritional products, I would get rid of all the mandates. I don't want the federal mandates. Some people don't like that because I don't want to get involved in social matters and say, oh, that means you're gonna allow such and such to occur, and you don't wanna define marriage and this sort of thing. But the government just should stay out of these things.
Yes.
The more the better. And if you get at the local level, most of these things I want the state government to stay out. They should protect our freedoms, freedom of choice, protect people from hurting each other and defrauding each other and slandering people. There are regulations, and a lot of people think that I'm soft on regulations, but we really aren't. The other day I talked a little bit about this, and I said the environment is better protected under private property, and if private property is protected, you'll have good environmental protection. And then the left just didn't understand this. They said, oh, you mean the corporations can do anything they want because they would be in charge? That's not the case. They would be able to do a lot less. When corporations and governments get together, then they gang up on us, whether it's medical care or those medical choices, or the way you protect the environment. If you give the power to the government, the special interests take over. Special interest should be the people, the individual liberty protected as it is designated under the Constitution.
Hi, Dr. Paul. I'm a big supporter. My question for you is, if elected president, how easy would it be for us to get out of these global agreements that infringe on our national sovereignty, like the UN, NATO? How easy would it be for us to just leave it alone?
Well, let me answer that, but I'm going to ask you one question first. Where is your home, and where did you come from today?
Uniondale, New York, on Long Island.
You told me you were in high school.
Yes, I'm a senior in high school.
That's fantastic. Future. Well, as you know, all the treaties, technically speaking, you get out of treaties by, there's a process of doing it. But a president does have the authority not to be too energetic in enforcing these treaties, because you could always, we should not be able to amend the Constitution with a treaty. Some people say that we go to war, beginning with Korea and these other places, because if you sign a treaty, it becomes the law of the land. And therefore, the law of the land says that the UN says go to war, we have to go to war. You can't do that. That's way too much. You can't amend the Constitution. So if it's a treaty or a Constitution that says that contradicts our Constitution, then you don't have to do it. And if they say that you have to go to war under UN resolution, I would say, no, I don't. I don't have to. I'm the commander-in-chief. Not only constitutionally is it very questionable and it's wrong to do it, but morally it's wrong. What if this would be true, that you could have a legal document where you signed a resolution that you would come to the aid of Taiwan, no matter what. And immediately, an attack on Taiwan meant we had to draft people and send them over and have a war over there. But if that treaty was signed 50 or 60 years ago, one or two generations, by what right does a previous generation have to commit this generation to an automatic war? And in a way, your concerns are justified, because that's about the way it is. There's a lot of places, whether it's Taiwan or other places in the Middle East, it is assumed that under certain conditions attacked, that we will automatically be there. And we're almost there too, because we're automatically in Libya and Egypt and Syria and Iraq and all these places, and not legally. So that is a real challenge. You can get out of it, but you get out of it when you have a constitutional president, you get support from the Congress, but you really still have to have support from the people.
Sir, I think it's
Okay, we have time for one more. How about the gentleman back there? Well, now I'll have to do two. No, go ahead.
I just had a question. Can we get back to the gold standard, and what would the process be?
Okay, not only can we will have to. When paper money is destruct, which they've done that many, many times, gold has never destructed. Governments abuse it and eliminate it. But Zolik, the current and retiring president of the World Bank, knows what's going on, and they know what's happening. They're talking about international currency, but he had the audacity the other day to say, and when we do, we'll have to incorporate gold. Gold gives reassurance that that they won't print money, or at least that's supposed to be the purpose. So yeah, to get confidence back in, you have to have something of real value. So gold will come back. Now, you can wait until a total disaster, and if we continue to do what we're doing, that's going to happen. You might end up with a primitive economy where you're using gold coins and silver coins, but if you do what I'm suggesting, cut the spending and get back to balance, you could work your way out of it. We did it after the Civil War. Conditions were much different after the Civil War because we weren't involved around the world. We didn't have a welfare state, and we quit spending money, and they withdrew greenbacks. And we went off in '61, had a restoration after 1875. It was a 3-year period where they went gradually through transition. And by 1878, it was a non-event. And they took gold from $200 an ounce, essentially took it down to $20 an ounce. They went back on the gold standard and ushered in a very, very productive age until the Federal Reserve came in. So you could do that. England, the British went back on gold in the 1920s after World War I. But take, for instance, if the market priced your dollar at $200 an ounce, and you went back at $20 and didn't shrink the money supply, it wouldn't work. The British went back the wrong way. They tried to go back, and that is very deflationary. It failed, so they said, oh, see, gold doesn't work. But no, there's ways to do it. But if nothing happens, if it's total out of control, gold comes back automatic, because that's how gold became money. It was automatic. It came about in the marketplace that people know it, understand it, and trust it. And that is why, you know, when total conditions fall apart, like it did in Vietnam, you know, as that war ended, the people who tried to escape the paper currency of Vietnam was worthless. If you had to bribe your way out, guess how you got out? With gold coins, because that's the real money. Now, if you had a real quick question there, I'll try and answer it. Did you have one more?
Quick about that. While we're on the subject of gold and silver, I own the company Republic Monetary Exchange here in Phoenix, and we're in the gold and silver business, and I'm afraid you get elected, I'm going to lose my business. But I will say it will be worth it to have good government. In the meantime, I am so passionate about your campaign, Dr. Paul, and I'm about halfway there to the maximum. So what I would like to do, if it's all right with you, is lay down the challenge. Leaving this room today, it's going to probably cost in the thousands of dollars for breakfast. I am willing to put up $2,500 towards the breakfast, asking others to match that so that you can leave here with all of the amount of money that was collected and not have any cost to the breakfast, if that's okay with you.
That sounds like a pretty good deal.